This episode is sponsored by GoWOD, the official mobility partner of the Noble CrossFit Games. GoWOD, the mobility app that is used by top CrossFit athletes Matt Fraser and Justin Medeiros. Take the mobility test for free on the GoWOD app. Once done, GoWOD generates for you super efficient mobilization protocols that are adapted to your mobility weaknesses, movements of your workouts, and available at any time. GoWOD has been designed for athletes with one goal: to allow you to mobilize in a personalized and super simple way, avoiding all the guesswork to help you perform at your best on every single CrossFit session. Get the app for free. Welcome back to the CrossFit Games podcast. I'm your host, Chase Ingham, with Adrian Conway, and today we are joined by Mr. Travis Mayer. Travis, thanks for taking the time, man. I know Indy Quarterfinals was 2 weeks ago. We'll talk a little teams today, but man, you've been in the space for a long time. What was it, 2013 was your first games?
Yeah. 2013 was the first games, and then now, I guess 7 times later, have still going, feeling like a spring chicken with 4 kids and crushing it.
That's the one thing I wanted to ask you about right off the bat is that, you know, me and Adrian have been in the space for a while. We both have 2 kids. Adrian's, you know, making the entrepreneur lifestyle, you know, running a few businesses, coaching, programming. You know, you've got your supplement company that you're working with, and you know, yours 35 plus, Adrian. I'm creeping towards the 40 plus next year, so I can't wait to jump into that. But yeah, don't make that. Don't make that. I got my cane in the back. I'm seated now.
Oh, that's what that is in the corner.
Yeah, but we're, you know, I have all these excuses that I like. There's like, oh, you know, I own an affiliate. I've got 2 kids. I've got all this other stuff going on. You know, and my elite fitness training just really isn't there. And they're like, well, I got 4 kids and I own an affiliate and I've been doing this since 2013. So I don't really, you're taking away all my excuses, man.
Yeah. You can't really use much of those anymore. No, I think the biggest thing is just having pretty much a really good supportive crew kind of around me. From the gym side, I have really fantastic coaches that coach a lot. Like, my coaching hours are pretty minimal. I mean, I coach about 6 classes in total a week. So I still like to, I'm always there because I'm training, but I like to still coach. I still really enjoy that aspect of it and watching people achieve. And then at home, of course, my wife, who handles a lot of things and still works and does everything and then doesn't complain when I'm gone, or like, hey, I need to train on a Saturday till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. No complaint. So, I mean, we've kind of created a very good structure for us, and how it kind of has funneled from where I didn't have any kids to then 1, 2, 3, 4 to now. And I think it's kind of been a good fit and can't complain about it. I mean, it definitely takes an army to make it happen and still allow me to pursue my dream while feeling like I'm not taking away from family time.
Before we get any further, let's just shout out to the boss ladies at home. I think we can all give a big thanks to our ladies that hold down the household. So a little slow clap. I'll clap the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, golf claps and masters are happening. So
masters are happening. I can take time away from the house and sit here with you guys because of who we have locking it down at home. So shout out to the boss ladies. But look, 2013, there's been, I mean, that long since 2013, there's been a lot of different season structures.
Oh, no kidding.
Last decade, right? This is what, year 10 for you, 2022.
Yeah. So my first technical year, I guess, was 2011 in the open, when back then they took top 60, and then you went to regionals.
Those are the days.
Those were the days. And I took great days. 61st, my first ever year. I was
no way.
Yeah, it was like 3 months into CrossFit, just started, and I took 61st and was devastated. I was like, no, like, oh my God, this is what I wanted to do forever. I can't. And then the next year, and I ended up being able to go on a team, actually. And that was with, like, honestly, a bunch of 40-year-olds from the gym. And back then you could do that because, like, you didn't have to actually have like a team. It was more just like, hey, we're all from the same gym. You guys want to go? We had like 5. I'm not kidding you. They all had like 3 kids and were older, and I was 19 at the time. So for me, I was like, hey, I'm the young guy. You guys want to do this? But it was super cool to be able to have that experience. And then the following year, fractured my L5. And then I was like fully healthy at the end of 2012, leading into 2013, and then made it from there. But yeah, you could say the seasons of how the sport has gone has definitely been a roller coaster ride of still not figuring out how it all functions.
No, right. We're still, and this is the first year we've had some similarity from year to year, especially since 2018. It's just been unknown and unknowable. I didn't think we'd be that literal in the way that it's we're setting things up today. But I was just like, okay, well, we can make things as different as possible if we'd like to. But over the years, and you've been like you've had the heartbreak in year one, but you've also had heartbreak at regionals too over the years. What are those?
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like regionals broke up with you in 2017.
Yeah.
But what? Every stumble you've had, you've come back stronger. And what was that? What were some of those things that you learned from all of those, I would say, milestones or roadblocks that propelled you forward and still have you competing today?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. I think every athlete at some point you're going to get knocked down at some point, and regardless if that's regionals, if that's an injury or whatever it is, I think for me and my reasons of why I train and what I'm trying to accomplish have changed every single year. From when I first started, it was like, I just want to make the games. Then it's like, okay, now that I've made the games, I want to shoot for a top 10. Okay, now that that's happened, now what's this? And so it's always evolved. And I think it was in what year was that at the games? Maybe the first year at Madison or second year. I just had like kind of a rough start and was just feeling honestly pretty down. I was pretty frustrated, upset with kind of how everything was going. And Max looked at me and goes, "What do you want to tell your kids when you're done?" And that to me just like hit me in the face. And I was like, you know what? Pretty much that dad doesn't give up, that he perseveres, comes through, comes back stronger, finds a deeper why than just being it about me, that there are other people still supporting me and not to let them down, even though there's still other reasons on why I push. But like in that moment, it just kind of flipped a switch for me of like, even though they don't know what's happening right now, to be able to have this story to tell them of like, look, life is going to punch you in the face millions of times, but like how you keep jumping those hurdles and keep coming back and trying to push and elevate and find yourself as a person and as an athlete or as a gym owner, like being able to do that and fully commit, I think is important. So then that just kind of allowed me to accept and look at myself. What did I do wrong? What do I need to prove upon going into the next year? What were the hiccups that led up to this? How can I make sure that doesn't happen again? Whether it's mentally or physically, then you start looking at mental performance coaches, then you start looking at the training and what you're doing. And so there's a lot of other avenues, but it's never deterred me from wanting to do and still try to accomplish of winning. Now, regardless, does that happen? No. But does that make me quit or give up? No. So am I still chasing that dream? 100%. And am I going to keep chasing that dream? Yeah, as long as I don't feel like I'm taking away from family and other things that are happening at home. I feel like once I get to that point where I feel like I'm taking away more at home than I am able to give inside the gym, that's when I'll probably be like, all right, it's time. But I don't feel like I'm there yet. And I still feel like I'm maintaining as much strength as I ever have. I'm faster at certain things. So it's just like, as the sport keeps evolving, I feel like I'm still evolving. I'm not regressing. And if I was regressing, then that probably would have been my time to be like, you know what, let's just hang it up. But I feel like to still set some top times and just have a little bit of a hiccup with some things in the past, but more so on the mental side of things than necessarily the physical side. So that's definitely something we're still improving upon and working on.
I love that, man. And we've talked about time. You've been in the game for a minute. You've got a lot going on. And then specifically to answer that question, you reference Max. Max El Hag is your coach.
Yep.
Training Think Tank is the business that he kind of oversees and got rolling from the ground up. You've been with him since day one, really, with your training, right?
Yeah. So when I started with him, it was, back with OPT at the time. He worked there. And so I originally worked with Nate Schrader, for most of you know, the Viking.
Man, Nate.
Yeah.
What a stud.
The guy was the physique, he looked chiseled. But so I worked with him and he had connections at OPT at that point in time. I ended up meeting Max and had a call with him. And immediately after my call, I was like, this is who I want to work with. Like, I don't need any more discussion. I know he knows what he's talking about. He has a good understanding. And just the way we kind of spoke to each other, it was easy for me to process and trust almost. Like it just felt natural from the beginning. So we started working together. He ended up leaving there, creating TTT. Fast forward a little bit more forward. He came down for my wedding. Part of our gym was kind of just empty, and it's 11,600 square foot gym, and it's just empty in one part. It was about 3,500. And we proposed the idea of like, hey, would you want to move your business down here? And so you can take the offices, you can take this side of our affiliate and keep it as kind of like remote programming and coaching on this side, and then take the offices because I didn't need them. And the next day, he's like, hey, can you take me to look at this house? Ended up taking him to look at the house. Fast forward.
Next day?
Yeah. And then fast forward, he ends up moving down here, moves all of his coaches from New York, Ohio, Florida, pretty much anywhere. They all move now to the hub of inside my gym. So it's kind of 2 gyms within a gym.
Yeah, I was going to be curious about that.
Me too.
Yeah. And it's still like, they're like, what's all this? And I'm like, well, it's more of a remote coaching side, but this, and it's like, it's literally their own affiliate, their own insurance, because it's a separate entity within ours.
Got it. Okay.
But it kind of has just flourished into that. And then now we've kind of created more of a community between both businesses. And now you're trying to figure out ways you can feed off of it more and help it grow more from an online platform and from an in-person kind of structure. So, which is cool to kind of be at it from the beginning and then see kind of how it's all come together. But yeah, we've worked together very well for a long period of time, and he's always been extremely honest with me, and I value that. And I don't believe in jumping from coach to coach if I just have one bad year. Like, I've had those opportunities where it was on me and I'm taking full credit and full responsibility for coming up short. And it, just as much as it hurts me, it hurts him too for not accomplishing that goal of what we set out to that year. Yeah. And I think sometimes you see these people that jump from coach to coach, and I'm like, look, you got to give the coach time, because that also, they need to understand you, right? I might not understand how physiology you're working in that 6-month period we signed up, but like, if I didn't win the games or something, like, I need to go try a different coach. I'm like, no, you probably stick with them and like give it some time to actually do it. Like, this is, I guess now 10 years we've pretty much been working together, and we have a very good relationship and understanding, like, okay, when it's time to train, we don't trash talk and make fun of each other, but as soon as we're done, you can make fun of each other as much as you want and tell how bad he is at golf or whatever. No, I'm just kidding. He's actually, but
I see those videos.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that trash talk that goes on, but it's all in good fun. And I think it's just been a really fun experience to be a part of and see how he's transformed that business into now like the TTT Compete and all of these other coaching platforms. And then now bringing on Sara Sigmundsdottir and Noah's in, and all these other athletes are now training at the gym, which is fantastic for me because I get a push and so do they. And then it makes it more of that whole community aspect of finding one coach that's being able to start it from the ground up and build a place where people want to come and want to learn and want to evolve, because it's never been, this is the only way. Like, it's not, this is the only coaching method and that's it. It's like some of the coaches have swimming backgrounds, running backgrounds, soccer backgrounds, football, and something else. And like, these are high level collegiate coaches that did that. And so like, we have field days, we have where you're learning speed and agility, cutting and stuff that comes into like at the games when you're doing like,
or shuttle runs.
Yeah. Honestly, but there was a technique that we actually practiced.
Yeah. There is a technique to shuttle runs. Yeah.
And so you don't think about how many transitions you're actually doing. And if I'm half a second off on that over the course of that distance, that's a lot. And thankfully I let them handle all the numbers of that. But just those different techniques of having all of those at your fingertips and constantly learning and trying to evolve, one makes me feel like, okay, I'm in the right hands of someone that's always trying to learn and grow on their side, which then gets brought to me of like, hey, let's try this coaching method. And I mean, I've been the guinea pig for years of like, does this work? I don't know. Let's try it. And then we test it, and did it work as well? I don't know. Worked pretty well. Okay, this one didn't. Let's try this. And you just kind of go back and forth, but it's definitely a fun process.
Well, you talked about athletes that jump coach to coach, and Max has been with you and you've been with Max for a decade. And then you mentioned someone very specific that I actually wanted you to ask about that has done the coaching lily pad, CrossFit career. And that is Sara Sigmundsdottir.
Yep.
And I think this is the first time we've seen her do at least a back-to-back coach stick with because, I guess it was last year when she came to Training Think Tank and Max El Hag were like, okay, this should be a good fit as long as she stays there. Now, unfortunately, her season didn't shape out like she wanted it to, but she's back with Max again. What have you seen from Sarah since, I would say, she first arrived last year and who she is now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's the confidence of just, I mean, I think you have any setback with an injury, it always creates this doubt in your head, regardless of who you are. Like, there's always that little bit of doubt of like, am I going to injure it again? Or am I going to do something else again? But seeing the work that she's put in and what her and Max have created to make her feel the confidence of like, okay, I couldn't do a quarter of a squat for her leading into potentially the open and all these other things. And then you look at semifinals, you have a pistol workout and she beat some of the best people in the world on a pistol workout. Like, that is the confidence of like, okay, I'm back, I'm stronger, and you believe in it. And I think you start to see that flourish the more and more comfortable she got. Then as the workouts start coming out, you start trusting yourself more, then you start pushing yourself more. And I would say it's pretty cool to see that, and just also like the trust that she's now kind of, you can see it in him and like, okay, he does know what he's talking about. I fully trust this process and how he's here to help me, not just like build his brand off of me, because that's complete opposite of what that's about, where it's like he's there to help you and he's going to outsource anything he can to make that happen, with having PTs on site, with having somebody doing literally all the counting, all the timing, all the splits. Like, what do you want to accomplish? Well, we'll give you the people to make that happen. And then just, it's pretty cool to see her kind of do that and just have her in the environment.
For Sarah itself, is the question is like, can she get back to, she came on the scene 15, 16, gets third both years. And then I feel like since 17, it's just been this roller coaster of weird things, like just headspace in one, injury in another, COVID year, another injury here and there. I mean, you've had your fair share of roller coasters over the years.
Yep.
Is there anything you've been able to at least impart to Sarah from your personal experience that's maybe helped her out this year?
I wouldn't say there's anything I've done. I mean, I think you have to believe it more in yourself than anybody, right? Like, I could tell you a million things that I've experienced and gone through, but until you start to experience it firsthand and have that true understanding of what's happening. Like, for me, I understand what she's going through. I know what it feels like. I know the suffering. I know the discomfort. I know the pain. It hurts emotionally, physically, like the feeling of letting people down. Like, you can relate to people when it's happened to you, but when you haven't experienced it, it's hard. Like, I had a conversation with an athlete the other day of like, you could just see they were burned out and not having fun. And I was like, look, it's happened to me. It's probably happened to tens of thousands of other athletes that you don't think about. All they're doing is posting their highlight reel on Instagram, which made me make a post the other day because me and Max were having a talk about it. But it's just, there's so much more that goes into it. And you have to be comfortable with yourself and how the work you're putting into it is for you. And I think so many people get caught up in like, let me make this post, like, oh, this will get me these likes or this follow, whatever it is. But like, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. Like, if you're not happy with looking at yourself in the mirror or being able to have a conversation with somebody, that's a hard thing. And I was like, look, I've experienced this. I've wanted to quit. I'm not going to lie to you. There's been times I wanted to quit, sometimes at the biggest stage, but you have to figure out like what's motivating you and what's driving you internally to get better. And I think even from Sarah's standpoint, it's just, I don't think I need to really actually say anything. Like, you just understand and you see the hard work that she is putting in. And I do, after seeing her and watching her, like, still some of the things she does, even from like a gymnastics standpoint, I'm like blown away. Cause I'm like, how fast she's still able to do that. I'm like, that's very impressive. And just the confidence in that. And I think each day that kind of goes by, she gets more and more confident in that. And I think the more you start getting closer to the season, you'll start to see that come out. But yeah, I definitely think she'll be a good contender.
I hope so. It's always fun to have her in contention, especially not just the semifinals, but the CrossFit Games. Obviously, she's a huge fan favorite. So it'd be nice. Like, it's no fun watching an athlete who's always on the cusp, and then something tends to happen that is, I mean, for her, it's been a couple things just outside the realm of fitness.
Yeah.
And a broken rib here, a torn ACL there. It's like those are the things that suck the most, not just from an injury for the athlete themselves, but it's like, man, you didn't even get to like get beat. Like, I mean, like you didn't get to play. And I like that, that's the hard part to watch for a lot of athletes. So it's good to hear that she's sticking around. She's building that rapport with Max. I think when it first came out that she was going to work with Max and Training Think Tank, I was like, man, this might be the final landing spot that she's been looking for. And
yeah,
I think,
well, I mean, it started actually. When was that? I don't know if it was 17. She came down for like a week or two before. This was right before she went to Ingraham. Yeah. Okay. So she came down and trained for a little while. And
I think I remember seeing a video about it.
Yeah, like we ended up doing the open together, and it was almost kind of like a feeler of how it all kind of came about. Because then she ended up deciding to go to Mayhem or Cookeville, wherever. I don't know what the structure was like. I mean, I still give her an extremely hard time about all of it and said I've never forgiven her, but I do.
Remember when you did this for Cookeville?
Oh, 100%. Every single time I let her know. But then I think after that experience, then going back to Iceland, and then her and Max just always stayed in touch. And then I think she needed to have those experiences, right? Like you need to experience whatever it is that you think is going to help. And then if it doesn't, like you go to now what you think actually will. And I think that's kind of almost what happened was like, let me go do this. I think I can kind of do it on my own. Okay. That kind of didn't work. Okay, let me go back to Iceland and do this. Okay, it didn't give me the outcome that I wanted. Okay, like I had a really good opportunity at TTT in that environment and training. Let's go try it again, but like fully dive into that. But I think you also have to, like I said, experience all those things before you can come back to it and be like, you know what, that might have been the right decision then, but for me mentally it wasn't. And I think that's completely okay. And I think now that she came back, I think speaks more volumes about it.
So basically, they were high school sweethearts. They broke up. She went to college, experimented a little bit, and now they've after graduation.
It was more of it might kiss under the bleachers, and then I'm gonna leave.
There you go.
Somewhere else.
There you go.
Yeah,
Travis, can you explain a little bit how a circumstance like this is optimal for you? And what I mean by that is we've talked about the longevity of your career and the new blood that has come and gone. Like Chandler has his stint down there with you guys, Noah, Sarah. But like as people come in and come out and exit and reappear back in your own facility where you're actually training, how has this spurred you along each year to continue to stay on the journey that you've been on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just another motivation. I mean, it is my gym. It is my environment. So for me, it's like, I want to hold down the fort, you know, like
home field advantage, baby.
Yeah,
always.
It's not a fun feeling getting beat inside your gym. I can tell you that it's not. And when like Friday night lights are happening and there's a lot of people inside that gym and you lose, it is not a fun feeling, regardless of like, not saying the open doesn't matter, but it really doesn't matter. But losing in front of people is not a fun thing. So
nobody wants to take an L at home.
Yeah,
nobody.
So for me, that's honestly like a really big motivator when everybody does come in. But I also think it helps just push each of us to another level, right? Like Chandler's been here a lot, still comes down, not as much now, but Noah still comes up frequently, did the whole quarterfinals here. Sarah's now pretty much here full time. And then there's Alexis Raptis and some other people that are here on site all the time. So you're always getting this extra push every single day. So like you can't come into the gym and not give 110% and expect like to come out on top. It just, you have to, and you have to show up every single day. But I also think that helps create the right mindset when you start going into the games. Like you go into the games, you have the 40 best athletes and you better show up every single workout and every single time. It's the same thing when you go into the gym. You're not as much pressure and anxiety and other things that go along with it. Cause it's like, you're just there in your normal training environment, but it helps cultivate a lot of that and take some of that stress off when you do go to the games, because you're like, I literally train with these people all the time. Like nothing changes. It's 3, 2, 1. Let's go and let it rip. And I think that's allowed us over the years, from even last year, we had a really big crew that trained full time, to then now, like even Jake Berman, he's another one that's on site all the time. So, I mean, workouts that I'm probably a little bit better at, he's not. But then when you get like the higher skill gymnastics, he's way faster at it. So then it's just giving me that push of trying to stay closer to that, which is the gap I'm trying to close. And then he's trying to close the gap on my side. So it just kind of, it's a good feeler, I think, for everything.
You mentioned Alexis Raptis. For those that don't know, I mean, we saw her name really shine in the quarterfinals, and we're like, okay. She had a good showing at semifinals last year, obviously so close to making it. For those that don't know, give us a little inside track on who she is and what we should be expecting from her this year.
Yeah, I feel like she's just kind of this silent, kind of like a little assassin, just kind of like hangs out, does all the work, and is very, very fit, like very good at gymnastics, really good on her hands. Like you handstand walk with her, it seems like she's running, and I'm like, well, this isn't really fair. But then she keeps the positions. And I think it was, what workout was it during the handstand push-up lunge one? Where
event one.
It changed. So, we did it all out of order. So then I wasn't thinking it was actually event one. But
event one was CrossFit, the other total, obviously.
Yeah, so, exactly. So I was sitting there watching, and she finished and literally just like shook out her arms and was like, all right, that's it. And I mean, she did it in like 5.5 minutes. And I was like, that was so impressive to watch. Like you see a lot of people when you watch things, you're like, okay, that was pretty good. And then there's some things you watch and you're like, you just didn't seem like you ever got fazed by it. And then when you finished, you were just completely fine. And I think taking that 6 last year was probably the best thing to ever happen to her. I mean, every year that I've taken a 6th or something or just missed it by 1 point, the fire that is burning inside of you to get back to compete is very high. And you can kind of see that happening right now. And I think you saw it kind of on the quarterfinals leaderboard of just like, she's just doing what she does every single day. And she's just extremely fit right now. And I think for her, she's hungry to make it to the games since like being a teenager. And I think she's going to do some pretty cool things in the sport, getting stronger. Gymnastics, of course, is there. I think it's just got to all come together on the weekend.
Yeah. Timing matters too, right? When it does come together. Speaking of that, dude, how are you feeling? How's your body? I want to hear a little bit of your journey this 2022 season a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll be honest, we had a little bit of a little rough start after the games. Just, I had some knee tendonitis and bursitis that honestly just was not going away. And I kind of, leading up to the games, I knew something was going on internally. But I was like, I don't need to get it checked out right now because it wasn't causing like pain to where I was like, it's gonna, like, they're just gonna tell me to stop and like, you need to just rest. And I was like, well, I can't. Like, the games are happening, training's at a high, and you just kind of just maintain it and everything. And then a little disappointed with some of the games outcome, but at the end of the day was still very happy with how I performed on it was more just some mental executions of things that when we went back to the drawing board of how to assess it going forward into this season. And then I went to Rogue, and after Rogue just kind of realized it's time to sit back because it just needed a break. So ended up taking about a full 6 weeks off of like of like nothing, of just like fully, hey, I'm going to golf and relax and enjoy time with my family. And that's pretty much what I did. And it was definitely nice to have that time because usually it doesn't ever happen. And my body just needed it for me.
Yep.
I think mentally, emotionally, physically, like I just kind of knew. And then at Wadapalooza, or I guess a few weeks after that, Noah was like, hey, you guys want to do Wadapalooza with me and Chandler? And I was like, yeah, man, let's do it. Like,
the boys.
Let's
boys.
And I think that just was like a good start kind of to the season of like, hey, let's do something fun. We don't need to do anything individual. Let's literally just go, like, all 3 of us are really good friends. Let's just go have fun working out. And I mean, you probably could see that. I even know out on the floor, everybody saw it. It just like, that's honestly what it felt like the entire weekend. Like it was literally just a bro session of just like, guys, let's make fun of each other. Let's have fun. And then let's just go crush the workouts. And workouts we didn't think we would do as well on, we ended up like doing exceptionally well or whatever. At the end of the day, we got the victory. So for us, that was like, hey, check that off. That's a great start to the season. And I'm pretty sure Noah would go team of 3 right now if that was a possible option for the games. I think we all talked about that of like, man, this was a lot of fun. Just, we don't really do the team thing. So you get the opportunity to literally throw down with your buddies. It was a fun experience. And I think it was cool for the spectators. I mean, usually you have like
from our end.
Yeah, usually
we
have
loved it.
male, female. So like sometimes you're relying on just whoever the weakest link is. And so like that's kind of, I feel like, not as exciting. But then when you have like 3 of the best guys and then you have that over like 4 or 5 teams, it gets pretty exciting to watch. I mean, even some of the races, it was like, I think we won by like 0.6 over like the Australian guys. Like it was fun. Like that's what makes competition fun. Like when it comes down to the wire and you're just having a good time doing it. Excuse me. But yeah, you fast forward past that, and then still the knee was kind of acting up, and now still trying to like play with it some, if I'm just being completely honest about it. And it's not causing me to modify as much, but it definitely limits some of the things that are going on. But I think it's also a good thing to talk about so people have an understanding of like there are things that do go on and there are nagging injuries, but you also have to take that time for yourself and your body to make sure that like you're not structurally doing damage or anything else worse. So I've had it looked at and they're saying it's all good now. So now we're kind of going full steam ahead of everything going forward towards semis and then the games.
I was going to ask. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, does that affect? So from you, I mean, you've got this experience, man. And I feel like I've seen it in you all the way back from like 2013, us competing against each other at the OC Throwdown, bro. Like,
yeah,
you've always had my respect.
The OC.
Oh yeah, throwback, right? Like that's back
double
in the day.
Kettlebells, run for like 2 miles or 1.5 miles, take one off, run with one, take them both off and run. Oh man, we did some crazy stuff.
And then like the night before that, we finished with like we had to do Fran 3 times back to back to back.
I remember that.
A Fran every 5 minutes.
Your slowest.
And your slowest time was your score. Just legendary. That's back when they were just trying to kill everybody. And
There's a reason why that
I loved it.
Competition does not exist anymore.
100%. But there was definitely some good times. There was some good times.
It was so much fun. But where I was going with that, Travis, is for you last year. I mean, look at the momentum that you felt, and you had clearly coming out of quarterfinals. Does that affect you mentally at all going into this season, like where you're at now and where the Open was, like in the fact that you're really just building towards your capacity this year versus like you were kind of flowing at a high the whole year last year?
Yeah. I think that's, like you've been in it long enough. You've had different experiences every single year. Like last year, you take the high of winning quarterfinals and then you have a pretty solid finish at semis. And then you're like, okay, now you're just kind of in. Where this year, it's definitely kind of been like the flip-flop version of that, which it kind of was like best case scenario of it happening at the beginning of the season. Now I take care of it. And then now you slowly just start to ramp up. And I think almost that can be kind of like a blessing of like, okay, now I'm starting to really peak up the volume and really start to train when the time really matters, and like not going to feel potentially as fatigued going into semis where it's like, man, I'm actually probably going to be feeling better than I usually do because like we're slowly ramping that up even more than what it was. And so I think it's definitely more of the mental side of just trusting what I know I'm capable of. And even when we've done certain tests in the gym, there's no doubt in my mind that it's there. Like when I need it, I can call on it. Like there's definitely times where you're like, all right, it's not time to push that envelope yet. But then there are times where I like to test what I'm at. And there's definitely times where Max would be like, all right, drop the hammer on this workout. And then it's like, okay, there it is. Like, when I need it, I can call on it. And I think that's just something, knowing myself, when I need to pull it out and really go full throttle on the workout, I can do that.
Love it.
That's huge because I think, not to speak for Adrian, but like myself, is when I was in competition mode, is that those are one of the things that I prized as an ability of mine, was like being able to basically go into that really dark place for a long time. And then as you get further and further away, I was like, I wonder if I can still do that. And I don't know if I can. And there is an element of losing some confidence with that. But the fact that you still have it in your back pocket of whatever it is that you do need to reach into and like I said, dig for an event, it's got to be just a huge confidence boost to know that you don't even have to have it on all the time, that it's still there when needed.
Yeah. I mean, a good example of that is quarterfinals this year. My fault. I didn't get grandparents or someone to watch the kids on Thursday and everything. So I had 3 of the 4 kids at home, and just, it was a little more stressful than usual. Like you're playing more. They wanted to do more. And I mean, I take full responsibility of like, we brought these kids into the world. I'm going to take the responsibility of that. And I remember even Max like, dude, you should get somebody to watch them. I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Hindsight, yes, I should have. But needless to say, I just kind of came into the gym more agitated and kind of on edge of just like, it was every little thing that was like happening outside of there. Then they had golf lessons, and then literally I didn't get to the gym till like 4:30. So then I start warming up, and then I felt like I was rushed to my warm up, did the strength, and then did the muscle up one. And that night I was just like, you know what? That was terrible. Like that was honestly just like, I pretty much like wasn't acting like the professional athlete that I should have, of like having everything dialed, having the kids watch, like, and so it was kind of like a quick flip of the switch of the mind of like, okay, so I literally started from scratch Friday. So I was like, I'm starting from event 1 and I'm going to run through the whole weekend again. So those first 2 that I did, they're done. I'll start over. We're going to literally go in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Friday, so, starting from Friday.
Starting from Friday. So really you can say Thursday was my warm up more or less. And I mean, I still hit, I think it was 370 clean, missed 350 something on overhead squat, just like a few misses that ended up being like 40 pounds. And I was like, I just wasn't happy with it, was getting caught up in the other things going on and just not being like fully dialed in. And then, so I was like, you know what, let's go start over. This is the time. And just knowing mentally, like it's time to be like in this zone. Then I felt like I was like fully focused, fully comfortable. So started over, did event 1, felt pretty good about it. Did event 2. I was like, all right, there we go. Did event 3 the following day. Did event 4, I guess was all the lifting, and ended up beating all the numbers.
Oh, wow.
Again. And people were like, do you think you'll actually beat them? And I was like, yes. Like there wasn't a doubt in me of like, I almost felt more comfortable and warmed up by the time we got to that point that I was like, I'll be fine. And it was like the easiest clean I felt like I've hit in a while, the best bench I've had in a while. And just like, except 291, my hip came up like that. And I told myself no rep. And then I watched all these other videos and people's hips like this and like, oh, good. I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Well, good for you for keeping the standard there, Travis.
Well, even I walk up to the video and I was like, not in CrossFit, it would have counted. And then did that like as a joke. But ended up taking those 2 and all the lifts were better, and then came back and then felt like I had a pretty good performance on that. So I think it's more of just a mindset thing for a lot of people. Like even you're saying, like, I don't know if it's in there. Like if you have it, it's in there. You just have to be able to like call on it and be extremely comfortable going there. Like even going into the open, there was a workout where I was not comfortable, but I pretty much sold out to that dark place because me and Alexis were racing. And as soon as I'm done, I literally go crawling out the door and then go throwing up everywhere. But I'm like,
she just shakes her arms out, right?
Yeah, she wasn't fine after that one. But more or less just like, I know it's in there and I know when I need to use it, I have it in my back pocket for when it's time. And now it's just being able to cultivate that on almost every single workout. So then on the weekend, when it is time to show up, you're constantly doing that over and over and over again, but not being afraid of it or timid, that you fully trust in it. And that's definitely something we work on the mental side as well.
Well, I think that's awesome. And, this weekend is the team quarterfinals. This is the final day. All scores are officially due, as we'll tap into the leaderboard really quick. But before we talk about what's going on in quarterfinals for team, you talked about your experience at Wodapalooza. I've heard Noah talk about this a little bit, and you got that little taste of team in Wodapalooza. Is that something in the future for you, or are you not even focusing on that right now?
I honestly not even focusing on it. I mean, the question came up a lot post that event of just like, should we do team of 3? Like more joking. If they brought out something honestly like that, it would be more enticing. I think force
like 3 men and 3 women.
Yeah,
or just teams of 3.
Teams of I would say 3 men, 3 women. I think from a spectator standpoint, it's more exciting, and I think it would be more fun, to be honest, if I'm just being honest about it. From my experience of doing a couple male-female teams versus doing the all-male, like it was just I had a better experience doing it. That could have been because we won, and it was just more fun. But,
I mean, you got a pretty good sample.
That was my experience. But I think even from Noah and Chandler, I think we're on that individual side for still a little while. I'm not ready to even kind of think about it, because I feel like once you start thinking about it and trying to do that, then it's just kind of like, all right, well then my individual season and stuff's just done. And I definitely don't think about any of that until it's time to get to that point and really start to be like, do I even want to keep doing that as a team? Or is it like, no, we just need to throw in the towel and focus more at home? I don't know. And then that's also a discussion with my wife.
True, right? It's like, okay, so we're still competing, but not as an
Yeah.
individual. So what does that mean? No,
Yeah.
I mean, those are the conversations you need to have, and it's always different for everybody else. I always find it amazing. You know, we could talk to Rich on Friday, just what he's done over his career and
Yeah.
Indian team and
Yeah,
family life,
Oh,
and I mean, we're again another individual that I was like, okay, so all my excuses, I just need to work harder. That's
yeah.
that's outside the gym, inside the gym. I need to stop talking to you guys like you. You're just
Yeah, but I feel like you have to want to do it, you know? You gotta want to go into the gym every day. Like, if you stop wanting to suffer, you need to just stop. I mean, in this sport, like for this sport, you still have to be very comfortable going into the gym and suffering to some level every single day. Like, you are doing strength work every single day, or high skill gymnastics, or hard metcons. Like, that stuff you still need to be comfortable doing. I even tell my members, I'm like, that's the difference of like what separates you from like being really good, or then just like, hey, I'm going to stay on that kind of semifinal line of like, I'm a pretty good athlete. It's like, no, like every single workout I do, I'm suffering in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Like, very rarely am I done and like, that was pretty easy. Like, I don't think I've really, unless it's like zone 1 work where it's just like
Yeah.
metabolic, just easy biking or rowing. But yeah, you have to be comfortable to dig into there pretty frequently. But yeah, I still feel like, I guess I'm a lot younger than you, so I'll take it.
I'm not well, I guess I'm getting that old. Well, speaking of getting uncomfortable, they had one event today for the teams, and I think there's really only one way to approach this one, as we were talking about yesterday, and that's this 27, 21, 15, 9 thrusters at 95 and 65, chest to bar pull-ups, thrusters at 135 and 95, and ring muscle-ups.
This looks awesome.
I was going to say, I was like, I see this one. And I'm like, we're talking to the right guy right now for an event like this.
Yeah, this is definitely, I like the short, fast, high power kind of workouts, and always have. I've always responded well to them, and I feel like it's just something I'm very comfortable doing.
Travis, this is why you'd make a great team member, bro. I'm just putting it out there.
Or if it's an individual workout, I feel like I do great as an individual.
Touche.
Yeah, I watched TTT do this. They have the couple teams doing these, and they did it. I think it was yesterday afternoon. I watched, and I was sitting there talking with Max about it as they were going. And I was like, man, as an individual workout, this is so fast. Like, regardless, like you have those stacked teams, like even Lauren Fisher, Annie, and all of them. Like, I can imagine most of these times are probably going to be close to like 2.5 minutes for some of them, of like, this is full speed and kind of like hammer down. In my eyes, I would say unbroken, looking at that. Just like, or if you did take a quick break, it would be that 27, just really fast. Mm-hmm. If I did like 21, quick break and 6 or 5, or 22 and 5. Clearly, I'm good at math.
I was like, no, 21 and 5. You get yourself a 5-second penalty doing that.
Oh yeah. But no, I definitely think something like this, you're going to see some pretty fast overall times on the teams that are stacked. I don't know, what, 11 minutes, 12 minutes, right? Something like that.
We'll peek at the leaderboard here in a little bit. Adrian, we talked about on the individual quarterfinal side, their 5th and final event with the row and the burpee box jump overs and the snatches. And we're like, I wish I could have seen this event at, say, a final for the semifinal or regionals back in the day, what that would have looked like. But even this one, if you take this one and put it as the semifinal final event for the individuals,
this would be,
oh my God,
full speed.
It would be amazing.
All the horrible pacing strategies out the window is like, you know what? I was going to break, but Travis isn't breaking.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I'm pretty sure just a 21.5. Somebody check him.
Right. And even when we think about how it would play out, think about how it would play out on a competition floor. You know how we love to tell a beautiful story from like end to end. So there'd be this transition time. So it would certainly be unbroken, right? Because there's no way people are going to mess with knowing that there's transitions and dropping the barbell or dropping from the bar, like, because you got to make up that ground in the transition time. So I think, man, this would be a burn it down style workout I'd love to watch in person.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing that could potentially happen if you do go full speed like that is you fail a muscle up. Like you're at like A.
And that'd be the best part.
Exactly.
That's what makes it exciting, right? Like it's
Yes.
like the full race to like who's getting sloppy and swinging all over the rings to gonna hang on and figure it out. But yeah, that definitely would be a pretty cool. I mean, even games workout, like that would be a pretty exciting one to watch, more so than handstand push-ups. But
I agree. And Travis and Adrian were talking about this the other day. What I feel like all of these numbers at these specific weights and skills is something just on the fringe of confidence. Like, all right, 27 in a row. Could I 21 pull-ups? But like those rings at the end, I'm just thinking a perfect scenario. You've got the whole length of the floor. They threw in a little A-frame over the night. So you got this little A-frame rig, 2 barbells, and just the ring sitting there at the finish line, and just what that would look like.
I mean, it would be pretty awesome. I mean, I still think I love it because it's just like a pure CrossFit, simple, nothing super crazy, very simple movements. And I think those are the ones that are always exciting and enticing to do because it doesn't always have to be, I think, some crazy elaborate plan. Like something just this simple could get so hard so fast, but I mean, even if you like, you could always change it. Like the games being the games, you make it 115 and then 155, right? And then, but maybe make the ring a bar muscle up or something like that. Like you can change a lot of variables of that workout to still make it completely different. Like, but yeah, that's definitely pretty cool.
I think it's some good classic CrossFit right there, where you can make these tweaks and make it a little harder. But as you said, the simplicity of this, we just let the athletes tell the story sometimes is part of the fun part. So let's shout out the boss. Give you a little shout out, bro. You had another great final.
I'll be interested to see how this whole year with him doing things comes kind of to fruition at the games and what it kind of looks like.
Yeah. You know, Adrian, you've done your fair share of programming as well as I. Is that, you know, when I talk about programming and seeing who does what, is like sometimes you see it's like an artist, right? Like certain artists had different painting styles, dots versus strokes versus acrylics versus oils, but like sometimes you see a little bit of the programmer inside the programming.
Absolutely.
You get that little flavor of that. And if you think about Boz, it's like Boz is an OG. He's a classic CrossFit kind of guy where simple is best. And sometimes simple is worse as far as how an event's going to feel. And
I think it's cool too.
One of those things
Dave the whole time as well. Yeah. Right. Like he's been beside Dave kind of since day one as well with the game. So he kind of has seen Dave's style of programming and what typically we're used to in the kind of level of excitement to bring to the crowd. But I think he'll definitely be a good fit for that.
Totally agree. Travis, while we have you, we were speculating on how the final was from the individual side. What was that fifth and final event like for you?
In quarterfinals?
Yes.
It was good. I mean, you look at it on paper and you just kind of have an idea. I think for me, I started at 2,700 and then thought like 2,500. I think it was around, I want to say like 51 seconds. I was kind of off, which I kind of knew. I knew the burpee box jumps relative to some of the others. It might have been just above their speed that's able to hold that high of a output. And then once you get to the bar, in my head, I was like, well, if you can touch and go some, that'd be fantastic. I did the first one. It was like, nope, abort. And so then just ended up hitting fast singles at that point. It was pretty happy with it. I mean, I remember watching Chandler do it right before or the day before. And I was like, it looks like he has 115 on the bar. I was like, this is touching going it like it's nothing. And I texted him what he did when he was done, and he was telling me his paces and splits. And I was like, man, maybe I should actually try that again at his pace and see what actually that would feel like. But just a completely different approach. And it's kind of funny to see how I approached it versus him. But that was definitely something impressive to see as well. That 10 touch and go looked effortless.
Yeah, that was pretty gnarly. Well, hey, let's take a look at the leaderboard on the team side. Like we said earlier, is that we had CrossFit Mayhem in the lead overall, but I'm curious to see what it shakes out after the fifth and final event. So before we take a look inside the leaderboard, we want to thank one of our partners of the show, Thorne. As CrossFit's official supplement partner, Thorne helps athletes and individuals perform at their best by optimizing performance through testing, database solutions, and premium nutritional supplements. Thorne also has amazing benefits for CrossFit trainers and affiliate owners. Signing up is free and easy. To learn more, visit thorne.com/affiliate. And don't forget 20% off all supplements during the quarterfinals. Head to thorne.com/U/CrossFit. All right, now all these results are unofficial, but there it is. Mayhem gets first unofficially. This is also the worldwide leaderboard. So CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, they take first in event 5 at a time of 11:11. So, you think about your average pace out there, it's what, 240, 245?
Yeah. Which, I guess the transitions are actually probably pretty quick. Just, you're probably right under the rig. Yeah, that's fast.
And then CrossFit Invictus, and they still just rocking and rolling. They take third overall. And then look at this, Mayhem Independence. Second team takes third in the world overall. And then where's their third team? Because this is the ridiculous top 10. Unbelievable. So CrossFit Mayhem, who originally had 4 going in, but now officially 3 out of Mayhem, 3 teams inside the top 10 overall.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. And then their team, they're going to be trying to beat, the team that'll be trying to beat them, obviously CrossFit Reykjavik. We actually got to talk to Yami yesterday about the team, and they have those 2 unofficial first places in event 3 and event 4. And really,
What's
if it wasn't for,
what is that?
Yeah, so the 117, we talked to Yami yesterday. It's like they just mispaced their burpees. And that's some of the things you learn in a group of 4 that have never worked together as a team. And then you have Annie, she's been on, teams at the invitationals, but he just said, it's like, listen, we just didn't know what pace to go. And, we tried our best. And I say they learned a lesson. And they learned
117th. What was the winner's time?
For which one? For event 2?
Yeah, for their 117.
11:41.
41.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So like 2 minutes.
Yes. Yep. So I'm like, you were talking about the burpee box jump overs. No, what was it? The shuttle run pace saving seconds.
Oh yeah.
150 burpees over the line that they had to do. So
yeah, this is definitely more of a burpee workout than this was a shuttle run workout.
Yes.
But that's a big difference. Wow. Huh.
Yes. Yeah, I think what he mentioned yesterday was that they really basically whiffed with trying to uphold a standard. Right, meaning that they were being a little bit too conservative. So it wasn't just with their pacing. It was like, oh, we don't know if this is going to be a touchy standard or not. So they went like super
You're
conservative.
Better to go conservative than you are. Because, I mean, most of this is still unofficial. Because I remember even on the individual side, I'll be honest, I got a 1:20 penalty for, the lack of my knee extension at the top by maybe that much, I guess.
The pistols.
Yeah. So, you're better to just almost ride that line of like making it 100% perfect. They're 13th. Like at the end of the day, that's completely fine. Like you'd rather hold up a standard that's the right way across the board than floating the line and getting your name out there. Is like you're the cheaters just trying to get snake on by.
Especially with that. And as Yami said, is like with the head behind the line where the hands are supposed to be. So Adrian, you nailed it as far as they were being very conservative in their pacing and very conservative as far as holding the standard. But look, they got 6th, 1st, and 4th.
Yeah.
And outside this thing that isn't really fitness level related, it was, standard related. I mean, you talk about 12 points minus that 117, and they're right up there in the top 3.
Give them a run for their money at the games, guaranteed.
So I'm really curious to see. But let's go continent by continent. It's they're taking 20 teams, so just sneaking in. Gosh, how many South African teams are in here? We go to Africa. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 5 of the top 20, not from South Africa, but unofficially, it is CrossFit Comet Okanvago. They win unofficially.
Wow.
Every single one.
Good job.
Bust out the broom.
Yeah.
Man, that is
5
incredible.
points. That's great.
Yeah, I feel like it's a pretty safe bet. So move over to Asia and CrossFit Kolindikov. They said they've been leading since the beginning, 2/3 to start the weekend, and then first. Again, all these scores are unofficial to close out the weekend. That was in Asia. We move down to South America, Q21 CrossFit. They take 4th, second to close out the weekend, second overall in event number 5, first overall for the weekend. Next closest team is still 18 points back from them. So you see a lot of these top teams clearly ahead of the field at which they've been competing against. We move over to Oceania, CrossFit Selwyn. They'll take first overall. They got, 4 firsts and a third. This is absolutely
probably just see the teams train together pretty frequently, as I would assume is what this is. Teams that are doing a lot of prep together.
And what we've seen over the years, and Mayhem's really shown that specifically, is like the individuals on the team are not as important as much as the team working together itself. And I mean, we said that last time about 2019, where it was the year of the super team. And I feel like they're like, listen, let's just try to put as many super teams together, no rules other than qualify in a competition. And it still didn't work. And it really did prove the formula of having teamwork, being able to train together all the time is important. So let's zip over to Europe and CrossFit Oslo, who is the team that got second last year at the CrossFit Games. Also, when we speak of those teams of 3 at Wodapalooza, it had the 2 females plus Kristen Holta that ended up beating Andrea Nisler, Taylor Williamson, and Haley Adams in that 3 women's team competition. And the question that me and Adrian had was, are they going to have the guys to help back them up? And usually that's not the question that we have in the team setting. It's like, do you have the girls? But this time it's, do you have the guys? And it looks like they are shaping up to be a contender in that European region. They got 4th, 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 3rd. So no finish outside the top 4. Reykjavik moved up into 4th. Again, they had that 30th place finish in workout 2, but check this out.
1-1-1-1.
First, and all the other ones, outside ones that they, this wasn't even a stumble. This was just an execution error from, I guess, what's not even error. It's like they just chose to
go slower.
Yeah, go slower. So the other 4 events showing everyone is like, listen, there is no problem in Iceland. They're going to be just fine. And then we look at North America to close things out. Mayhem Freedom, 5th in event 1, and then 4 first to close out. See, this is what happens when you beat Rich one time, and then he comes out and wins 4 in a row.
Yeah, he's also still got to have 3 other pretty fit individuals to be able to back up some of those times.
Golly. So 9th, so they get 5th for first. Cross and Invictus took the first in event 1. Mayhem Independence, they're sitting in the top 3. And then Mayhem Justice tied for 7th. So they have 3 teams in the top, and which is crazy because when you looked at the worldwide leaderboard, they had 3 teams inside the top 10 on the worldwide scale. So it's amazing how these other teams fit in between them, and shows how stacked. So that North American region is going to be wild.
Yeah.
But man, so that's going to be your team going in from the semifinals, and it's been a cool weekend. Obviously these things are unofficial, but it's going to be nuts to watch 3 different semifinals. I'm assuming with 3 different Mayhem teams in there, all with the potential to win each semifinal.
They should put them all at the same one. That'd be pretty fun.
Oh, I think if I was, they're like, hey, where do you want to go? I was like, well, tell me where all the Mayhem teams are, and I want to pick the one semifinal that they are not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we didn't really get a pick this year.
Nope.
It's based off of like once you got the form to fill out, it was just like, do you have any restrictions on like where you can go? It was more
okay.
Which so hopefully they're assigning it appropriately, which I would assume they are. But yeah, I think tomorrow is kind of the deadline on when we find out exactly where that is we go.
Yeah, I think they said the 11th. And actually, a question I do have for you, Travis, is last year you got to technically choose or give your preference of where you wanted to be based off you finishing. But I think another one is if there are no restrictions, and obviously it's still a little iffy, people traveling overseas or coming from, Canada or South America. But in my mind, I think it should just be a circle seating effect. Okay, say North America specifically, because the other ones either have 1 or 2. you put 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, right? You basically go 1 through 4, put them in their own semifinals, 5 through 8. Like what's your preference as far as, do you want it geographical or just run it by the numbers?
I mean, I don't think it really matters. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it would matter. I mean, if you have literally the top 10 all at the same semifinal, that's a little
Just gonna put the top 30 in this one.
Yeah, like that definitely wouldn't really be, I think, fair.
And then you have the old South Central region with the bottom 30. I can say that because I was in there.
Yeah, I've never really cared.
Yeah,
I mean, I think if you're gonna make it to the games, you're gonna show up on the weekend when it matters and do what it takes to get there, regardless of who's there. I think for myself, that's at least the confidence I carry over and try to go into an event. I'm not going to go into it and be like, this person's going there. I really hope I don't get paired. Like, okay, whatever. I'm going to go against you somewhere, wherever it's now or it's then. That's to be decided. But I think for me personally, it doesn't really matter. I just want to stay close because I can drive. So for me, it's Tennessee or Tennessee. So hopefully,
you got two options, right?
Yeah, like they're both here. So hopefully, or at least a 3-hour drive. So for me, I would prefer a quick drive than I would going to Montreal or going to Minnesota, just from a geographical location wise. We'll see if that's actually, and I mean, last year I won, so I got a pick. So like that was already like guaranteed. If I didn't get my pick, that would have been kind of weird. So hopefully it kind of would just happen again and get to go there.
Well, and they said that was a stacked field, and that was, I mean, the MAC last year
was stacked. Yeah,
dude. I just remember the first event of the weekend. That was one of the.
It was like 12 people that snatched 300 pounds.
Yeah, it's like, all right, so it's like Oprah ran up there. It's like 300-pound snatch for you and for you. Just
I mean, that's what it felt like. Is I remember even loading up the bar. Like I never hit 300 in the competition or ever. And I remember loading up the bar after I hit, I think it was 275, and then I don't know if I hit 85 or 90. I forget the second one. But then I looked at Max and I was like, do I go for it? And he's like, you think you can hit it? And I was like, I don't know. I've never done it before. So, but just knowing like literally that many people hit it. And I think that was I think it was 8 or 9 people legitimately snatched 300, which is just unreal. Fun. Like back in the day, that was 275 was like
back in the day, that was a great clean and jerk. That's what that was.
and now it's like, man, people are snatching that pretty frequently. And then you have the outliers that are snatching 340, but
dude, that was crazy. I remember
that was unreal.
Like, I'm just gonna miss my other lifts and then hit this 340 for one. I'm like, cool, Anthony. Really cool. Where were you in that heat? Were you one of the early lifts, or
I was the last?
So you were the last one.
Yeah. So since I went in with the 1 seed, I was the last one to go. So I got to see everybody go, and then I was the last person to lift. So
where would you prefer? Would you prefer first, middle, or in that position that you?
I like that position.
All those things
I think it puts you on the spot of like rising to the occasion. You better make it happen. And I think it allows you from a strategy point of view of like, you can then change it, right? Like after, if I watch 5 people go and I was like, I was going to go 295, I see 5 people hit 300. It's like, man, you just got to put 300 on and hit it. Like that just is what it is. Like there was not a doubt that I was going to miss it. You just have to trust yourself on game day that it's time, and you better find whatever strength, whatever power you got to do it now.
I mean, especially it looked like somebody turned off gravity for that event. That was unbelievable.
Hopefully they didn't, because I'd love to hit it some more.
Well, hey, Travis, thanks for hopping on with us, and I appreciate you sharing your experience so far and what you're looking forward to this year. We're looking forward to you getting back out there and holding it down for the dads out there, man.
Right. Do what I can.
So, hey, thank you guys for joining us for the show. Teams, congratulations. When these things get official, we'll see who will be going to semifinals on the team size, as individuals should be getting finalized at the beginning of next week. Travis, good luck with the rest of your season. Awesome. Adrian, thank you for joining us. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.